Hello, this is an extract from the book by Trotsky, My Life, Моя жизнь. There were no roads along the Sosva. However, beyond Berezov, the country is utterly wild. For thousands of versts, there are no police. Versts is shorter than a mile. It's about a kilometer. It's old Russian measure of distance. For thousands of versts, there are no police and not a single Russian settlement, only occasional ostyak huts. No sign of a telegraph. There are no horses along the entire route, as the track is exclusively for deer travel. The police could not overtake one, but there was the possibility of getting lost in the wilderness and perishing in the snow. And it was February, the month of blizzards. Dr. Fate, an old revolutionary and a member of our group of prisoners, taught me how to simulate sciatica in order to be able to stay in Berezov for a few more days. I carried out this modest part of the plan successfully. Sciatica, as is known, cannot be verified. I was placed in a hospital. The regime there imposed no restriction whatever on me. When I felt better, I would go out for several hours at a time. The doctor encouraged me to walk. As I said, nobody was afraid of any attempt to escape at this time of the year. I had to make up my mind. I decided in favor of the western route, straight across to the Urals. Rashkovsky obtained the advice of a local peasant nicknamed the Goat's Foot. The Goat's Foot. They don't explain here, but the goat's foot, I want to explain. The goat's foot is kozya noshka. Kozya noshka is a very funny slang in Russian. This is like in American culture, joint, for smoking. But that one in Russian is simple tobacco. It's not marijuana, it's simple tobacco. They call it kozya noshka, the goat's foot. And just translation doesn't give you anything, but that's a funny name that peasant had. So a local peasant nicknamed the goat's foot. This dry, intelligent little man organized the escape quite disinterestedly. When his part was discovered later on, he was severely punished. After the October Revolution, the goat's foot did not learn for some time that I was the man he had helped to escape 10 years before. Only in 1923 did he come to me in Moscow, and our meeting was very friendly. He was given the full dress uniform of the Red Army, taken around to the theaters, and presented with a gramophone and other gifts. Shortly after this, the old man died in his faraway north. The journey from Berezov had to be made by deer. The difficulty was to find a guide who would risk the certain danger of a trip at that time of year. The goat's foot found a Zырян, a clever and experienced fellow, like all the Zыряns. Is he a tippler? Of course, a frightful tippler, but he speaks, well, actually it's a drunkard, пьяница in Russian. Tippler. But he speaks Russian and Zырян fluently and two ostyak dialects which barely resemble each other. Another driver like him is not to be found a shrewd one. He is. It was this shrewd fellow who afterward gave the goat's foot away. He traded him. But he got me away successfully. The departure was set for Sunday at midnight. That day the officials were having amateur theatricals. I appeared at the barracks, which served as the improvised theater, and when I met the local chief of police, I told him that I felt much better and would be able to leave shortly for Obdorsk. This was a ruse, but a necessary one. When the church bells struck 12, I stole into the goat foot's yard. Stole means sneaked. He sneaked into. The sleigh, I guess this translation is not very... the sleigh was waiting. I stretched myself on the bottom and lay on my spare fur coat. Laid down, he means he laid down on my spare fur coat. The goat's foot spread frozen hay over me, on the top of me, bound it with a rope, and we set off. The hay thawed, and cold water started dripping on my face. I will be correcting as I go. The translation here is not perfect. After we had driven for a few versts, kilometers we can say, we stopped. The goat's foot unbound the hay and I got out. Then he whistled. Several men answered him in voices that were, alas, quite unmistakably drunken. The Zurian was drunk, and he had brought his friends with him. This was a bad start, but there was no choice for me. I was transferred with my small luggage to a light deer sleigh. I had on me 2 fur coats. One had fur inside, the other outside. I also had on me fur stockings, fur boots, a double-lined fur cap, and fur mittens. They say gloves here, were not gloves, they were mittens. In short, the complete winter outfit of an Ostyak, a local resident Ostyak. In my bag, I carried a few bottles of liquor. Well, by the way, it was not liquor, it was spirit. The best medium of exchange in a desert of snow. Yeah, it was spirit. Spirit, I will explain here. Spirit is 2 times even higher in degrees of alcohol compared to vodka. Vodka is about 40 degrees of alcohol, degrees we say in Russian. And spirit, medicinal spirit, is about 96 degrees. They keep it in medical offices, for example. In extreme north, they drink it. They dilute it with water. You can dilute it in half. So this is the best coin to pay over there in the extreme north. They don't have the use of money there. What do they do? What will they do with money there? From the far, so we are talking here about the year approximately 1907, okay, before revolution. From the fire lookout in Berezov, Sverchkov relates in his memoirs. One could see, from that fire lookout in Berezov, one could see all movements to and fro the town over the wide expanse of snow for at least a kilometer around. It was only reasonable to expect the police to question the fireman on duty whether he had seen anybody driving out of town that night. Acting on this presumption, Rashkovsky arranged for one of the local men to take a slaughtered calf down the Tobolsk road. As we anticipated, the move was detected, and when Trotskiy's escape was discovered 2 days later, the police rushed after the calf and lost 2 more days in this way. But I only learned of this much later. We took the course along the Sosva. The deer, probably the river, the name of the river. The name is also strange for Russians. It's a kind of local names over there in North Siberia, extreme, closer to extreme north. The deer that my guide had bought were the peak of a herd of several hundred. Early in the journey, the drunken driver had a way of falling asleep frequently, and then the deer would stop. This promised trouble for both of us. In the end, he did not even answer when I poked him. Then I took off his cap, his hair quickly froze, and he began to sober up. We drove on. It was a magnificent ride through a desert of virgin snow, all covered with fir trees and marked with footprints of animals. The deer kept up a lively trot, their tongues out at the side, breathing heavily with a chew, 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 chew. The track was narrow. The beasts herded close together, and it was a wonder they did not get in each other's way. Amazing creatures, knowing no hunger or fatigue. They had had no food for 24 hours before our sudden departure, and it was another 24 hours from the time we started before they got any. According to the driver, they were just getting into their stride. They ran evenly, without effort, at a speed of 8 to 10 kilometers an hour. They found their own food. They could find their own food, the animals, the deer. A log of wood was tied about their necks, and they were let loose. They chose a place where they sensed the presence of moss under the snow, dug deep holes with their hoofs, going in almost to the tops of their ears, and then fed themselves. This way, deer. I had the same feeling for these animals that an aviator must have for his motor when he flies over an ocean at an altitude of several hundred feet. The leader of the 3 deer went lame. We were much upset about it. He had to be changed. We looked around for an Ostiak settlement. They are scattered here, many kilometers away from each other. My guide would find camps by almost imperceptible signs several kilometers away. For example, several kilometers away, he could smell the odor of smoke. The changing of the deer lost us another full day. But, on the other hand, I was lucky enough to see a beautiful thing at dawn. 3 Ostiaks riding full tilt, lassoed some deer already marked from their herd of several hundred, while the dogs drove the deer toward them. We drove on again through woods, over snow-covered swamps, and through vast forests that had been destroyed by fires. We boiled snow for water, sat on the snow, and drank tea. My guide preferred liquor, but I saw to it that he did not overindulge. Although it looks always the same, the road is constantly changing, and the deer know it. Now we are going through an open field between the birch woods and the river. The road is terrible. Behind us, the wind blows away the narrow track which the sleigh has left. The 3rd deer keeps missing the trail. He sinks in the snow up to his belly, and even deeper, makes a few desperate leaps, climbs to the road, back to the road, pushes against the middle one, and knocks the leader off the track. In another place, the road, warmed by the sun, is so difficult that the straps on the front sled snap twice, and at each stop the sleds freeze to the track. It is only with much effort that they can be made to move again. After the first 2 runs, the deer seem tired. But now the sun has set, the road is frozen over, and driving is better again. Soft, but not mushy, the most businesslike road, as the driver expresses it. The deer trot on almost noiselessly, and pull the sleigh without effort. In the end, we have to unharness the 3rd deer and tie him behind, because easy driving makes them prance about, and they might smash the sleigh. The sleigh glides smoothly and in silence, like a boat on a crystal clear lake. In the darkening twilight, the woods seem even more gigantic. I cannot see the road. The movement of the sleigh is hardly perceptible. The enchanted trees rush towards us. The bushes run away on the sides. Slim birches and old stumps covered with snow fly past us. Everything is filled with mystery. Choo, 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 choo resounds the even breathing of the deer in the wooded silence of the night.